So I went to see Nick Lowe play the other night at the London Palladium, and it was a fantastic show. So I thought I'd look at a Nick Lowe classic in one of my videos, and this is What's So Funny About Peace, Love and Understanding. And I'm actually going to play an instrumental arrangement of this, which is based on the recording by Los Straitjackets. And Los Straitjackets are currently Nick Lowe's backing band, but they're also a fantastic kind of surfy rock and roll band in their own right. Amazing musicians. I do love this recording. So I'm going to take you through how to play that. I'm also going to take you through just the basics of the song, the basic acoustic chords, the strumming part. So if you want to just learn the song and sing along, then you can do that also. So let's get started. So there we are. This is just such a great song, absolutely essential, I think. And obviously the words in this one are great, but it does stand up really well as an instrumental just because the melody is also so strong. And this one first came out in 1974, recorded by Nick Lowe's band Brinsley Schwartz, but it wasn't very successful at the time. I think it would have been forgotten about were it not for the great Elvis Costello cover version, and then after that was recorded, the song kind of increased in renown. I still don't think that Nick Lowe has done a studio recording of this tune. There are various live versions that you can hear, and he plays it in his live set to this day. Let's get started then. I'm going to begin by showing you the basic chords and the acoustic strumming parts, and then I'll get into those great twangy riffs that you can hear on the Los Straitjackets version. This one is in the key of G. I think all of the best known versions are in that key, so the Brinsley Schwartz version, Elvis Costello, the instrumental version as well. And you can actually play through this song in a nice, simple, strummy kind of a way, and it's actually very beginner friendly. You just need 4 or 5 basic beginner cowboy type chords, and I can actually think of a few better beginner songs to learn if you're just working on getting together those basic chord shapes. It's just such a classic song. So let's begin with the introduction, and essentially that is just G going to C. So just play it as simply as that, just a nice relaxed down up kind of a strum, maybe something like down, down, up, down, up, down, and then change to C. Now, if you wanted to get a little bit fancier, you could try throwing in a little fill. So this is something you hear on the Elvis Costello version and also on the Lost Straitjackets version. I think on the instrumental recording this is probably an overdub played by maybe a 12-string guitar, so just a little descending scale really, starting on this C note and just coming down. I think it sounds nice if you try and strum and then play the fill and then go back to the chords again. This is something that Elvis Costello does. So you start by strumming the G, and it's going to be easiest if you play your G like this, leaving your first finger free to play the fill. So G, fill, going to C. So that's another option you've got. I think on the Brinsley Schwartz version it's a bit more like this. So you've got a quick D chord in there as well, so that's another option. G, D, C. Next we're into the verse, and it starts by just continuing that G to C move. So as I walk through to see this wicked world, searching for light. So there we're going to E minor, to A, insanity, and then D. And there, if you like, you can throw in a passing C chord to take you back to G again. That doesn't happen on the Lost Straitjackets version, but it happens on the other versions. And then we go round for the next verse. G is all hope lost. Is there only pain and hatred and misery? And that passing C once again, if you want to throw that in. Then we're into the chorus, which starts on G. Each time I feel like this inside D, back to G. There's one thing I want to know. C, G, what's so funny about peace, love, D, and understanding? E minor. We got that A, and that bit goes round again. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? End of the chorus it's E minor to D, it goes round again. On the instrumental it's slightly different. At the end of the chorus it just goes, what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? And it goes back to G and C, and there's a kind of a little re-intro bit. So that's a basic chorus part. If you're a beginner, I suggest just keeping it simple like that. It works really well. But if you want to, you've got the option of making things a little bit fancier, maybe throwing in some seventh chords. So you could go G to D, and then maybe G7 to C, G, D, E minor, and then maybe A7 here, G, adds a little bit more colour to the chorus. On the original version there's actually a really nice descending bass line, and that's something perhaps you could try in the actual guitar part if you wanted to. So maybe something like this. So you've got that chromatic descending bass line going from the G down to the E. So you can play a G chord, it's D with an F sharp in the bass, just wrapping my thumb around the top to catch that. And then this, which is really cool, it's a G7 chord but with the flat 7 in the bass. So again, if you wanted to wrap your thumb around the top, I'm muting the 5th string, and I've got open, 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 and the first string, the first fret rather, on the top string. So G7 over F, and then to C, but you can leave that low E string ringing as well, so C over E, and that way you get that nice descending bass line. So I think that's basically it for the acoustic parts. We've then just got more verses and choruses that you can play in exactly the same way. And I think it works really well just played in a very simple way, or if you wanted to, you can just throw in some of those little fancier embellishments. Let's talk about the instrumental version then. And one thing that I really like about this recording is the way that the melody is played very, very clearly and very, very straight. There's very little in the way of fanciness or embellishments, and I think when you've got a melody as strong as this one, sometimes it's better to approach it like that. You don't want to mess up a great melody by trying to do fancy embellishments where they're not really needed. So let me take you through what's going on here. I'm not going to describe every single note in detail or we'd be here all day. It's actually quite a simple one to get together. If you know the original tune, you can actually pick up this melody quite easily by ear. But we're in the key of G. You might like to think about your G stuff down in this zone of the fretboard. So G major pentatonic, G major scale down here. There's your G major pentatonic, your G major scale. Played using some open strings there. You can play your G major scale here in the second position without using any open strings. So often when I'm learning a melody, I like to have those kind of road markings sort of under my fingers, as it were. That gives me the notes in the key, and it means that you're less likely to mess up and throw in kind of bum notes that are outside of the key if you're thinking in those terms. So the first verse, it starts like this, just a G, A and B. This first verse is played on the lowest strings. It's got that nice twangy sound, and you can maximize the twang just by picking quite close to the bridge on your guitar. So let me just repeat that, and then we've got climbing up a G arpeggio to hit this E note, coming down, and then we just go round again. Kind of variations. And that's the verse. So just keeping the melody in mind, playing it very simply. You can vary it slightly. You can vary the rhythm. You can throw some little fills in there if you wanted to, but for the most part it sounds best if you just keep it straight. Then the first chorus, again, it's very simple. So starting on this B note, fill there, and then it repeats the refrain. Then for the second verse, we're playing the melody up an octave, which is a kind of classic thing to do in this style of twangy instrumental. So just the same notes up an octave, so G, A and B. I'm climbing up higher here, so I'm playing this G, B, D and E. So here we're embellishing slightly, so playing some double stops. Up to this point it's all been single notes, but here playing this little shape here, so a B and an E. And I'm just dropping the B down to an A, so and then I'm dropping the top notes. I'm ending up here on an A and a D, so that's nice. Then for the second chorus, more double stops. So a combination of thirds and fourths here. So it's this B and D shape, and then it's this shape here, so A and D. Back to the first shape. Climbing higher. And then we're back to this shape again. So it's the B and the D. And it's dropping the melody down on the third string. And then we're just little fill you can throw in there if you wanted to, just a slide from 5 to 3 on the B. And then again, and ending up here, open G and 3rd fret on the B. And then there's a little instrumental break. And then there's a little fill played using thirds. I'm playing this as part of the electric part. On the recording it's played on the acoustic guitars, I think, but just playing this on the B and G string, starting here, so 9 and 8, down to the 7th fret, then 6 and 5, back to 9 and 8, 7, 9 and 8, and then that shape moved up 2 frets. Takes us round for another verse then. So played more or less the same as before. I'm just throwing some chords in there occasionally. That's not part of the actual recording, I don't think, but it's quite nice maybe in some of the gaps just to strum the chords and to suggest the harmony. And then the final chorus played more or less as before. We just repeat that refrain. And then final time. Ending up here. And then at the very end of the tune, just repeating that phrase. So E, D, B, E, D, B, back to D. And that's really it. Beautiful but very simple, and I think try not to get in the way of that beauty and simplicity. Just focus on playing that melody in a nice, clear and confident kind of a way. So digging in a little bit, playing close to the bridge, just getting that nice twangy sound. Let's talk gear, and for the acoustic parts I'm using my Martin 0015M for the most part. That's the guitar over there. I also used some 12-string acoustic on the backing track. I've just got a very basic Yamaha 12-string acoustic. It's actually in the other room at the moment, but I'll take a picture of that and put it on screen. It's just quite a budget friendly Yamaha 12-string, but it sounds okay. I think it's a little bit tricky to play. It sounds pretty good, and you know, I'm not using 12-string guitars that much. It's literally just on the rare occasions where I need a 12-string on a recording. That's something that I will get out. Then for the electric parts, I'm using my Jazz Master. This is a reissue, 60s reissue Jazz Master, into a Fender Princeton. No effects pedals today, but I have got some reverb and tremolo coming from the amp, so that sounds like this. Actually sounds quite nice just as a solo instrumental version. Maybe that's something that I should try and work out and get together for a future video. That's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Tab, of course, is going to be up on the Patreon page alongside my very excellent, if I do say so myself, backing track. So check out those things if you want to, and I'll see you next time.